Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on the orange couch, Mr. Jason Mraz.
Yay! Thank you.
First question. What is a singer-songwriter doing on a jazz festival?
Exactly.
Did you sneak in?
I snuck in somehow, you know. They just drove me in the entrance door, and here I am. I don't know, but, you know, I think through all my songwriting, I've always hopefully allowed a certain element of jazz to be present, you know, and whether that's, you know, throughout the show, always adding an element of improv to the show, or just, you know, a good number of major 7 chords.
They always work, don't they?
They always work, yeah.
Have you got any, when you were younger, learning how to play, were there jazz guys you were really admiring?
The jazz guys that I really admired were the horn players, because to me the horn mimicked most of the vocals, you know. And growing up, my stepfather was a jazz drummer, so he turned me on to guys like Sonny Stitt and, you know, of course, Coltrane and Miles Davis. And I felt like what those guys were doing, singing through their horns, I wanted to do that the same when I decided to write songs. I wanted to make my melodies as spontaneous or as controlled, you know. And so it was always the horn players.
But you never considered a bebop career?
No, I never did. I never did. No.
Has it something to do with the time you were brought up in?
It could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, still growing up, I listened to a lot of the radio, you know, mainstream radio, and it was through my parents, and then luckily through college that I got more into jazz, you know, and by that point I was already kind of on my way, you know, singing the pop songs and, you know, just being more vocal, if you will, you know, telling more stories.
Did you train? Did you train your voice at a conservatory music school, or are you
I did
natural?
Well, I like to think I'm natural at it, but I mean, definitely a good amount of practice has gone into it. You know, I was always very attentive in school, you know, and just as far as my grade school. And then college for me was very short. I just immediately began participating in the public world.
Could you tell us something about your lyrics? What do you want to achieve with them? Do you consider yourself a storyteller, or are you more telling about yourself, feelings, love?
Yeah, I've always used my own life as sort of a channel through how I lessons learned and how I get over certain fears, or, you know, celebrate certain accomplishments. But I've always used relationships as a great tool for telling a story, because in every relationship, even you and I have a relationship sitting here, whether it's on this train and on the orange couch, there's a story there, and I can usually see how it starts and finishes. So I usually use stories in relationships as my guide.
What about politics? Shouldn't a singer-songwriter write about the world we live in, write about Iraq, write about the environment? Do you think it's a task, a duty of the singer-songwriter to portray the world around him?
I do. I don't think it should become their full-time job, you know, but I think after a while, I think it's inherent that it will happen to every singer-songwriter. You know, they'll hit it. It's happened to me for sure. Just these past few years, it's starting to affect my work, and I am seeing more about global issues, and I'm seeing more, you know, trying to shed some sort of light where in other areas of the world there's, you know, a fair amount of darkness. So I'm trying to do my part to balance that out, and I think in time every singer-songwriter will visit that, you know. Yeah.
If you had to mention some great examples in the singing-songwriting business, also the road you want to step onto.
Wow.
And
I have no idea. The road I've already stepped onto is a wild one, you know. I don't know where it's headed.
A bumpy road, maybe.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know where. I've never planned on where I'm going, you know. I just sort of said, all right, I'll try that. You know, I'll go over there. I'll play some shows there. And always thinking I'll just return home back to my usual life, you know, because I prefer life in San Diego, playing in the coffee shops there, and, you know, we get to do these far out tours, and we get to meet people all over the world. So I don't know of any artists that I could base my own life on, you know. I've heard that
but
Dylan
artistically
speaking, wow. You know, there are the greats, you know, the guys that have stood the test of time, you know, Dylan and Willie Nelson. I look up to those guys tremendously. And, you know, they've always had a passion to continue touring, but I'm sure they still have their separate lives somewhere, you know.
You just mentioned the coffee houses, which are small and intimate, and you have a direct connection with the public. You had a taste of. When I just talked to you, I said it's a nice circus around here.
Yeah.
Or I said it's a circus, and you said, but it's a nice circus.
But it's a nice circus, yeah.
But if you had to play these big halls for the rest of your life, wouldn't that frighten you?
I don't think it would frighten me. I would definitely learn how to do it, you know, because there is a way you can play a ginormous hall and be intimate with each person. You know, there is a way to do that. I don't have that much experience in arenas to try to prove that, but I definitely feel there is a way it can be done, you know.
Are you looking forward to it? Is it an aim? Some people
it's not
rather stick to the small world.
Yeah, you know, I've been lucky enough to experience pretty much every level and rotate between them, you know, so that way it's always new for me. It keeps me challenged, you know, to remind myself how to do the small intimate rooms, but then have to be reminded how to play the big rooms. I don't have an aim for one versus the other, you know. I just sort of take each day as it comes and take each stage as it is, you know.
Okay, enjoy the festival.
Thanks.